Hello everybody, I hope you all are staying safe and healthy where you're at. I apologize because in this video you get to see me, I don't get to see you, which is definitely you getting the short end of the stick on this deal, I think. But at any rate, real quick refresher on some of the concepts with production possibilities curves as you prepare to take your quiz. Again, we did this a long time ago in macro. This was in the first unit of macro, so it's been a long time. You're probably familiar, but just a couple refreshers on some of the key concepts. So the first thing is the difference between constant opportunity cost or increasing opportunity cost. So constant opportunity cost means you give up the same amount as you make more of one product. Okay, your opportunity cost does not change. And so this is typically, you're going to see it because it's a straight line as opposed to being bowed out, which is increasing, but it's going to be a straight line. Here I've used the example of vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream. If you remember, the worksheet we did a long time ago was ham sandwiches and turkey sandwiches. The reason as you make more chocolate ice cream, you give up the same amount of vanilla ice cream and vice versa is because the resources are perfectly adaptable. The process of making vanilla and chocolate ice cream is the same. The resources needed are the same, the skills needed and so forth. Transitioning from one to the other, it tends to be very seamless. And so you don't give up more of one to make another. On the other hand, you have what most things are in life, and that is an increasing opportunity cost. And you would see that visually because you see the curve being bowed outward. And what that means is that as you make more houses, you give up increasingly more cars and vice versa. And the reason is resources are not perfectly adaptable. Making houses and making cars are two very different things, requiring different resources, different skill sets, different economies of scale, all kinds of things that make it so that as I make more of one, I give up increasingly more of another. And I'll give you a numerical example in a moment here. Remember though, some of the nuances of the curve. So some things to remember. If you are on the curve, okay, or you could say it this way, the curve represents how many different combinations we can make if we are producing all of our resources. Okay, so in other words, if we're using all of our resources and making as much as we could, we would be on the curve. They like to ask a question where they'll put maybe a point outside the curve at X and say, what's true about that point? And what's true about that is it is unattainable. You cannot possibly do it. It is beyond our realm of production possibilities. If you're inside the curve, at any point, that means that you could have made more, either more cars and or more houses. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. The curve represents the maximum we can produce if we are using all of our resources. The other thing that they like to occasionally ask about is this, and that is, remember, the curve never tells us what we should produce. It just says these are the options. It doesn't tell us what the best place to produce is or whether we should make more houses or cars and so forth. That's irrelevant, okay? So it just tells us these are the possibilities. So how they might give you a numerical example is they might say if we are currently operating at 9 houses and 4 cars, in order to produce 3 more cars, how many houses do we give up? Well, to go from 4 to 7 on our car production means we can't do that without giving up something, and of course that is houses. So to go from 4 to 7, we have to drop from 9 to 7 houses, and so we give up 2 houses in order to do that. If you wanted to make more automobile or more cars, you would have to give up even more houses and so forth. So they might give you a simple question like that. And then lastly, if we were to experience some kind of an economic growth, or if there was going to be, let's say, an industrial revolution or something along these lines, a technological revolution that allows us to make either more houses and or more cars, what would happen is this curve would move outward. Okay, so as the curve moves outward, that indicates that we are producing, we can produce more houses and more cars, and that usually indicates economic growth. Okay, so as you see those curves, those are the basics. If you know those things, you can usually answer any question. They'll try to word it differently, you know how they do it, but generally speaking, those are the main things. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you back tomorrow for another video. Thanks.